I'll now get into some of the meetings and speaking engagements that I have taken part in or attended the last month. On April 13th, I took part in a meeting with the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, David Zimmer, and his Deputy Minister, Deborah Richardson, along with the mayors of the City of Brantford and councillors and the County of Brant, Mayor Ron Eddy and some councillors. This meeting was held at Woodland Cultural Centre, and we talked about a number of issues where the province might be able to work with the three of us. I also had the opportunity to take the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs on a tour of the old residential school. He'd never done that before, and he was quite amazed by going through that tour. Councillors Bob Johnson, Carl Hill and Terry General attended that session along with Lonny, Bomberry and Paul General. On April 14th, I had a brief meeting with the principals, and I want to start meeting with them on a regular basis just so that we can keep in touch. One of the things we are talking about is doing an after-school music program in September. We're working with Boris Brott, who is a conductor in Hamilton, him and his wife Ardith, and they're trying to secure funding to get that program running. So I'm hopeful that they're successful and will provide information on that if they are. On April 14th, I also had a meeting with the Deputy Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and a Assistant Deputy Minister of Finance to talk specifically about the Gas Tax Act and some of the issues that one of our local gas stations was having with respect to that. Councillor Wray, Maracle and Carl Hill attended that with me, and that issue was resolved to the satisfaction of the gas station operator. On April 15th, I traveled to London to speak to the Soroptomist group, which is a group of ladies that get together. It's an international, Soroptomists are an international group of ladies, and they work to help young women in whatever way they can. And they were quite interested in how they can help in the whole Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women initiative. On the 16th, Councillor Mark Hill and I traveled to Toronto to take in one of many Pan Am events that are coming up, and it was an acknowledgement event for all of the participating groups, and it was held at Toronto City Hall. On the 18th of April, Councillor Bob Johnson and Carl Hill and I attended the Youth Forum at Six Nations Polytech. It was organised by the Youth Council, Six Nations Youth Council, and I want to thank Chelsea Johnson, Tony Johnson and Mark Hill for organising that. I think it was very well attended, and it was a good event for our youth. And on April 22nd, our long-term care staff and palliative care team held a palliative care conference at Six Nations Polytech, which also brought in a number of people from other communities and other areas to hear about the fine work that our palliative care team did and is doing. On April 23rd, Councillor Bob Johnson and I took part in the annual Hagersville Secondary School Crime Stoppers Breakfast, and then we had the groundbreaking for our new fire hall, which they say will be open and ready by September 2015. On April 24th, I, along with Councillor Helen Miller, attended the annual Six Nations Library Gala that was held at the Best Western. And on April 25th, I attended a very moving event. It was titled Remembering the Pledge of the Crown. This was held at Dundurn Castle in Hamilton, and it was a commemoration of the Peace Council following the War of 1812. And it was co-hosted by the Six Nations Legacy Consortium with assistance by Rick Hill and Keith Jameson and Heather George. And it was a very fine event, and there were representatives from other nations that were there, like from Akwesasne, Ganawagi, and Garden River and Moraviantown. So it was a moving event. On May 1st, I also attended the UN Permanent Forum, as I mentioned earlier. It was held on April 26th to the 30th. And on May 1st, it was First Responders Day in the province of Ontario, and we decided to hold a breakfast at the community hall to serve and honor our first responders, our Six Nations police, our firemen, and our paramedics, and all the councillors served breakfast. It was a fine event for our first responders, and a number of community members attended as well. That evening, I attended an event in Paris, Ontario, which was the annual conference of Nations Uniting, and it included representatives from a number of First Nations, both in Ontario and Quebec. And during the last weekend, I also took part in all of the emergency control group meetings that were taking place with respect to the emergency with the fire at the landfill that we had. On Saturday, May 2nd, I took part in the Indian Defence League of America annual banquet that was held at the New Credit Community Hall. This past Monday, at Council's Committee of the Whole, we had a meeting with Chief Isidore Day from Serpent River First Nation. Chief Day is on the campaign trail as he is running for he is a candidate for the Ontario Regional Chief, which election will take place in June at the All Ontario Chiefs Conference. On May 5th, Phil Montour and I met with our the Deputy Minister of Aboriginal Affairs in Toronto to talk about a number of issues that we want to encourage the province to follow up on. Earlier that morning, I, along with some of the councillors, met with the Assistant Deputy Minister and the Regional Director General of Indian Affairs, who the ADM was on a meet and greet in our community. She had never visited here before, and we had a meeting with her about education and some other issues, and then she went and visited and toured some of our schools. And that evening, Phil and I also had a dinner meeting with Dave Levac, the MPP for Brant, who is also the Speaker for the Ontario Legislature.